Thank you for joining us today. The purpose of today's session, we're going to have a bit of a quick chat regarding audit documentation, deficiencies, and root cause analysis. But the purpose of today's session is actually to introduce you to a great product that we really do hope can increase consistency in engagement files and just increase the overall quality of our engagement files. This product was developed by Christian Kutsia. He's here with us today as well. I'll quickly introduce him to you. I was told to put on my camera, so there I am. Hi, everyone. Christian, from your side, if you can quickly turn on yours as well, please. Let us just show everyone the faces.
It seems I do not have permission to turn on my camera.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I just love technology. Hold on, let me see. Oh my goodness, maybe if I make you a co-host, it will allow you to. So yeah, I think you should be able to share it now. Let's see if you can turn on your camera now.
Okay. There we go.
There we go. Hello, Christian. So everyone, this is Christian.
Hi.
He is the developer of the product that we will be looking at today. And he's also here just to help me if there's any technical questions that I don't know how to answer. So thank you for joining us today. And then I will be turning off my video. I am camera shy. Yes, definitely. Right, there we go. Okay, so let's just then get my slides up for my little bit of technical information that I will share with you. Naturally, we don't just want to do it a demo without any actual technical information behind it, so that you can at least say you learned something for the day. So the whole objective, as I said, of the session is to talk about documentation, the importance of documentation, the issues we see with documentation, and what we can implement to help us remove some of those issues. And this is really relevant for any type of engagement, whether it's an audit, an independent review, compilation, agreed upon procedures, any type of engagement where you need a file, an engagement file, to later on prove what you've done and the evidence that you have received. Now, we know for all of these engagements, the common rule is that if it's not documented, it's not done. You may have done all the perfect work and you may have performed all the perfect procedures, but if we haven't documented it, or we've documented it incorrectly, or we've documented And I think we also see that coming through with urban reviews and global reviews on engagement files, that documentation is a key issue. And we'll look at some of those issues in a moment and the root causes as to why it happens. So I guess at the end of the day, of course, the important question is, how much do we document? Now, today is not a full documentation session, so I'm not going to go into that in too much detail, but the common rule is you have to document enough so that another experienced practitioner, if it's an audit engagement, another experienced auditor, if it's a compilation engagement, another experienced compiler or accountant, but another experienced practitioner should look at your work, what you've done, what you've said you've done, and come to the same conclusion. And we found that most of these times we do the work, we just do not document properly. Now, today I don't want to talk necessarily about planning or finalization. I'm more looking at the execution section, right? We have a lot of audit softwares that helps us, well, engagement softwares, let me call it that helps us navigate the planning and finalization section of our engagement files in terms of what to document and how it should be documented. When it comes to execution, though, there is still a gap, right? It's still, we don't always know exactly how much should go onto our working paper. What should our working papers look like? And if we don't even know as experienced auditors, how can we expect the trainees to know? And how can we implement procedures to make it easier on them and easier from an engagement perspective to ensure that our documents are more effective and, they're right from the start and we don't have to go and fix things later on. So just a quick indication from ISA 230. ISA 230 says if you are going to document your procedures, your execution, this is what we need to see. What we need to see, very importantly, the first few things that you would expect to see on any working paper for that matter is a bit of information about that working paper. This is usually our header. Right? We have a bit of a header where we say who our client is, where we say what the year end is, and then who did the work and at which date. So naturally, this tells us that we should have some or other templates. If we're going to leave trainees up to do just what they want, then working papers are going to be very inconsistent. It's not going to look the same. And I mean, in an instance where different partners and different managers have different ideas about what this is going to look like, your engagement files may not always be consistent throughout, and quality may not be consistent throughout. So having template documents is quite important. But now you also start to ask yourself, how do I ensure that people use the right template? How do I ensure that they don't necessarily change the template? How do I ensure that they do not just copy and paste from another file without changing the data? So a template in and of itself can also lead to issues to consider. And we'll look at how we can overcome those issues in a moment. Then the next thing we want to see on our working paper is the identifying characteristics of what it is that we are performing. Right? There's certain things that must be included in all working papers. The procedures itself, the assertions that you are addressing, or the outcome that you are expecting to receive if it is an agreed upon procedure. We want to look at the sample sizes. If we did sample, what's the sample size? How did you get to that sample size? How was the sample calculated? And then when it comes to the results of our procedures, naturally, there's a certain flow of things. We need to see the documents that were selected. We need to see the details that were inspected, the date, the amount, the VAT that was recalculated. And once again, that question of how do we communicate to trainees what should be documented? How do we ensure that it is consistent throughout the whole firm? And we can once again do that with the use of templates. But then the question becomes, how do we manage those templates? And then think about tick marks. Tick marks, I think, is a bit of a huge issue if they are being used. How do we ensure that everyone uses the same tick mark so that it looks consistent throughout the file? So that at least our file looks neat and, nice to the eye, if I can call it that. How do we ensure that everybody explains their tick marks properly? How do we ensure that we don't have unexplained tick marks or explanations for tick marks that were not used? And then lastly, if we did discuss significant matters with those charged with governance, that should also be documented on this working paper. What was the significant matter that I discussed? When was it discussed? With whom was it discussed? Do we have space on our template working papers to document these things? Because I can promise you, trainees don't always know, or they forget. They go and discuss something with management, but they come back to their working paper, put a little tick mark in and say, I'm happy. And at the end of the day, they don't really document the professional judgment that went into that conclusion, that decision of, I am happy with what happened here. And this is really just scratching the surface of audit documentation. Looking at some deficiencies identified by IRBA and globally, of course, and the root causes for these. So I've done the root causes first and then the review notes that is linked to that root cause. And these root causes, ladies and gentlemen, that's just my opinion. You may identify different root causes in your firm as to why documentation is not where it is supposed to be. My first, and this is probably my worst, I hate this one, to be honest, copy and paste. Copy and paste, either from last year's file or from another client's file. And this actually, I want to pull it through to a worse root cause, is that we're not providing proper guidance to trainees. A trainee will come and ask a question. What am I supposed to do? What does the senior tell them? Go and look in last year's file. Just look there. Do the same thing. Doesn't mean that what they did last year was correct. Doesn't mean that last year they documented sufficiently. So copy and paste is really something that we should try and ignore as much as possible. It can lead to significant issues, and issues that were identified on audit files. Working papers has information that does not pertain to the entity. A name on a working paper of a company's name, that's not that entity. A year end, that's not correct. Information that does not pertain to that entity. Why does that happen? Because I needed a template, so I copied and pasted from another client, and I forgot to delete the data. Yes, and then we have wrong information on the working paper. So what do we basically say? If we are going to work with templates, templates is a great tool, but you need a clean template for everyone to work on. Now that causes its own problems. Where are we going to save this template? Will everyone know where to go and find it? I'll show you the solution we have for that in a moment. Other issues that can be caused by this, so other review notes identified, the wrong materiality used. Why? Because I copy and pasted from last year and I forgot to change the information. Now, this may seem like a silly error, a small thing, something that I can sort out quickly, because if I review the file, I'm going to pick this up and we're going to fix it. But the problem is, and not everyone really understands this, is that copy and paste can lead to phantom ticking. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. It is a risk for phantom ticking. I've actually seen this in practice, where trainees copy a working paper over from last year. There's certain tick marks in that working paper. There's certain explanation of things that have been done in that working paper. They don't change it for the new year. They don't take out the tick marks, that's irrelevant. So on that working paper, it seems like they've done work that they haven't actually done. So this is the reverse of not documenting enough. We are actually documenting things that we did not do. That's the very definition of phantom ticking, and it is super dangerous. Right? Trainees can have their contracts cancelled over that. Auditors can get in huge trouble because of that, saying that you did work that you didn't do. That's probably the worst thing that you can do as an auditor. So the copy and paste issue may sound like a simple issue, something that we can fix easily, but it can cause havoc if there are documentation of items that wasn't performed. So basically, let's see if we can keep copy and paste to a minimum. If we are using templates, there must be an easier way to get in the clean templates and not copy and paste from a populated file. The second issue, team members do not know what to do. And this basically is why they copy and paste, because they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to document. They don't know what the working paper should look like. Why don't they know? Well, for those of you, you've all gone through university, it's not practical. It's very, very theoretical. They teach you to remember procedures, to remember words and the things. They don't teach you how to document the results on an Excel spreadsheet. So the trainees don't know unless we show them how. Okay. Once again, templates can help here. If you think about something simple like VAT execution, VAT testing, a VAT recon, you can do a template for that people can then use to populate data. It may need to be changed for specific clients, but you can have a starting point. Things like your occurrence testing for expenses, for revenue, for cost of sales. Usually the same things will be inspected from similar documents, so you can have some of a standard template on what should be documented depending on the assertions that needs to be addressed. The review notes that came out of that, the documentation is not sufficient to allow for re-performance. We look at a working paper of what a team member has done, and we cannot see what did they inspect, what did they look at, what did they verify. All we see is a tick mark and work performed, right? Great. You know, what work was performed, on which invoice, on what documents. Negligence. And negligence actually also comes in with copy and paste, negligence of not deleting the things that's not relevant, but just plain, normal, lazy negligence. Right? Tick marks that are not explained. Tick marks, people didn't use tick marks at all. Or we used the tick marks, but we didn't document what they were for. So we don't really know what were the results. And then other issues, communication. Unfortunately, the only way you can fix communication is to actually communicate. I can't give you something to help with that. But that's a huge, huge issue as well. Contradictory audit evidence found on the file. And this can happen in any engagement. I document something when I do revenue and my friend tests cost of sales, my colleague tests cost of sales. They document something totally different. Our explanations do not agree with one another. Why not? Because we did not communicate within the team. And then with regards to templates, I think we discussed that sufficiently. So what we are looking at in terms of this product that Christian did develop, so to jump back into that, is an Excel-based, you put it in your ribbon. I don't really know exactly how to, yeah, I sound silly there. So it's Excel-based. So in your Excel working paper, there's an extra tab then in the ribbon that we call the audit toolbar. So it's a toolbar that you're going to add into Excel that will give you specific options and functions to help with regards to using templates and using clean, proper templates, with regards to using tick marks, making sure they are consistent throughout all engagements and your engagement. So not every single trainee can just go and select their own tick mark. We will give them tick marks. It can help you with selecting samples. It can help save time. It can help with review. Okay, so number one, it can help you to ensure you're using the right templates to start off with, the right documents to start off with, to avoid those errors, those copy and paste errors. It can then also save time, quite a lot of time, helping with tick marks, helping with reviews. So let's look at the options within this toolbar then. I hope you can all see my Excel at this stage. So I've just opened a set of data. So there I have a list of invoices, revenue invoices for my client. And I have the toolbar there at the top. So just to show you, just from the left to the right, all the options. So as we said, it gives you the option to save your templates and then easily and quickly import a template into Excel. Right. So let's say, for example,
yes, sorry, I hope you don't mind me just jumping in there.
Definitely.
I think so. Just on the templates, all the problem points or pain points that you touched on certainly rings true in my experience. And I think what often happens is we spend so much time in our firms deciding on what a template should be, updating those templates, making sure it's the correct ones, and often it gets stored in some intranet or on the server somewhere, yes. Only to be ignored by all of our auditors or most of them, and then somebody does a review 2 days before signing and we find out we've used the wrong sampling calculator or something horrifying like that. And so coming out of that was fundamentally the pain point I was looking to resolve with that first function, the new template function. So you would actually upload your firm's templates into the toolbar, it'll all be yours as you guys decided what is best for your firm. It's very simple to upload and build that in. And then from the auditor side, it's a one click and the latest template just gets put into the active workbook. Okay, sorry, Yvonne, you can continue.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you, Christian. So yeah, like Christian said, the idea is to take your firm templates and save it inside this toolbar. And then whomever has this toolbar in Excel can access those templates, and they know they're always using the right templates. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to upload a template in a moment, but just basically I've done one of mine. I think that one is mine. So you're going to load them into this toolbar. And then if I open up any Excel documents on my computer on the audit toolbar, I can find that template. And it's as easy as clicking on the template and it pulls in my template document. I can then actually now go and change. I can go and type in my words. I can add lines and add my, my results. I can now execute on this working paper. So the idea is to have your own templates, upload them, and then everyone can use them. So I can go and upload my VAT template here, my revenue template, my sampling template, my materiality calculation template, if I have a separate one. Whatever it is that I want to use, I can upload it there. There's also guidance. You can see there how to add a template that does explain the process on adding that template, right? Which we will look at in a moment. So quick and easy way to get your template then into Excel. No copy and paste, no wasting time to go and find it somewhere on the server, not taking it from last year, not taking it from another file, literally just bringing in your company's template. And that, as I said, consistency across the files. Everybody is using the same template. That is just the clean template. So you bring in a clean template. Then there's also an option to, once I have selected items and I want to bring these items that I have selected into a working paper. It may now be a process of copy and pasting it, but we have made it, well, this program has made it a little bit easier. So let's say here is my data and I have now selected those items. Those are the items that I want to put into my working paper. I have now a test of detail working paper and a test of control working paper. Once again, a template that you can edit so that it is your firm specific template. So literally I'll highlight my data, I'll click on that button, and there we go. It will bring in my template and the data that I want to use into my template. And you're naturally now going to, depending on what your template looks like, when you edit the template, you can go and indicate where the data should be pulled through. So if you want the data to specifically pull through in a very specific place, you're going to set it up like that. I think I did it with my test of control. So there we go. There's my template, and then there's my data that I'm pulling in.
So just something I want to throw in here. So both these features we've been looking at now, the intention here was to build them as straightforward as possible. So getting this set up is extremely easy, and there is plenty of guidance available, and of course we always were available for any kind of support calls or assisting you in setting it up. But the idea was it should be very straightforward and very simple to set up.
Yes. And I also did it myself, and I'm not a guru when it comes to technology. So if I say it's easy, I can promise you it is easy. Right. So that is using templates, bringing in those templates, making sure you have the right updated template for your firm. So this sorts out, I think, a lot of issues that we've talked about in terms of inconsistent documents, copy and pasting, not deleting data that shouldn't be in your working paper, those type of things. That in and of itself for me is already great. The next option then that it will give you is tick marks. So remember I said it may be that everybody's using their own tick marks, which can cause quite a lot of inconsistent tick marks in Excel. Also, there's this issue with where do I put my tick mark? right? Do I put it right at the end of a column? Do I put it at the bottom? Do I put in a new column and put it right next to the amount? What is nice with these tick marks is you can put it in the cell that it relates to. So let's say I want to make a specific note for this date, for this transaction. Now, usually maybe I will make the tick mark at the bottom, and then I'll have to go and explain in my tick mark that it relates to this transaction. But here I can literally just go and click on my tick mark there at the top. So there's numbers 1 through to 9 if you want to make notes. And the little one will appear right there in that cell. So now in my legend, I can just go and explain what was the issue with this date. I don't have to go and first explain in terms of this transaction, this date, this is the issue. So that also makes it a lot quicker, a lot easier. And that is the same for all the tick marks. If you want to use your GL, yes, sorry, Christian.
Yvonne, just something to note there. So there's an update coming towards the end of May. And within that update, we will automatically populate legends based on the tick marks. So you'd have the opportunity to say what a tick mark means, and then the work paper will detect what tick mark is in there, and it'll put the legend in.
Yes, great. So also saving time there, where you don't have to go and create the legend yourself at the bottom in terms of typing in the explanation. You can link a description to the tick mark and it will populate automatically. So also saving time there. And then taking away this thing that a tick mark may not be explained, because that's also still an issue. I'm using a tick mark, but I'm not explaining it. But if Excel automatically creates a legend based on the tick marks used, that overrides that issue completely. Right, so you can see you can use any tick mark there any way you want, and you can also put it in an empty cell. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to make a tick mark applicable to the whole line, you can put it at the end in an empty cell, and you can put two next to each other should you want to. And then you can also add your own tick marks. So I've already added one here, which is a signature, which I thought was quite nice. You can add a signature then in Excel. There we go. Right, immediately pull through that signature. I think that's quite a nice option for signing. It's not really what it was made for. It's for tick marks, but I mean, I'm the user, right? We can play around with it. So there we go. You can even sign your documents using that. But to add a tick mark, very easy. There's the open blocks that's available. I'm going to click on an open block. I'm going to find my little picture that I created for that tick mark. Right, there we go. Really, to create this picture in Excel, I just typed TB. I changed it to a green font, and I took a little snip, a screenshot of that TB, and saved it as a picture. Right, just to have it in picture format. So now I can go and I can say I've agreed things back to the TB. Right. So yeah, standard tick marks. Here's a few ticks.
So,
red tick, blue tick. Yes, Christian.
So the grey blocks and the tick marks. So some of our early adopters have been of two minds there. So some firms would upload their own tick marks centrally before they install it out to everybody else, and then some leave them open for the auditors to upload themselves. So both options are available to you.
Yes. Yeah, so you can program that before you roll it out to the rest of the firm. And then, like I said, consistency across the firm with regards to what your tick marks look like. We don't have funny smiley faces and hearts and animals. Right, that's the tick marks. The next function, and I really do like this one, sampling. So for those of you who struggle sometimes with selecting your sample size, there is a quick button to do so. So I'm going to just select my data, and then I'm going to say I want to select a sample from this data. And then you can choose what type of sampling, systematic sampling, which of course means you're going to choose every 10th item or every 20th item or every 50th item, depending on what your sample size is. So I'm going to say, I want to start selecting in row 1 or row 2 or row 3. You can choose a random starting point naturally as systematic sampling works. And then if you know what your selection interval is. You can go and type it in. So the selection interval, naturally, your population divided by your sample size. So my population is 318. Let's say my sample size is 10. It means I need to select every 30th item to get a sample size of 10. And then I'm going to click continue, and it is going to create a new sheet for me with my sample. There's my systematic selected sample. And I can now go and say, great, put this in my working paper. And there we go. It throws it into your working paper template. So I've created my working paper very quickly, very easily. There was no struggle here whatsoever. It also has the option to do your random sampling then. So my sample size is 318. You can then choose. Why is it not allowing me to choose a seed value?
There's a tick box that allows you to use a seed value or go without a seed value. At the bottom, it's not there. I think you need to select the sample size first.
Oh, naturally. Sorry, select the sample size first. Yvonne, follow the process. There we go. And then it allows you to choose a seed value. And naturally, let's say I choose a seed value of 1 and someone else had to select the same sample and they choose a seed value of 1. It would, Christian, it would give you the same sample.
It'll give out the same sample, yeah. So there's lots of debates whether or not that really actually is random, if you can replicate it. But there is a lot of a few managers that I've spoken to who prefers that, because then they can replicate the say the juniors random sample selection to verify. Yeah. Something I just wanted to add in on that, Yvonne. So as part of the next update, next to the sample calculator, there will be a drop down with like sampling working papers that will be built in the same way as the template. So you can go in and you can change it. We're going to put in a few calculators in there just based on what we think it should be. But same as with all the templates and the working papers, you can make it your firm's own templates. So.
Okay, so yeah, a nice update to look forward to is just some guidance in terms of the sampling process. And then we have our reviewer options, and these are just things that Christian has built in. So naturally in Excel, there are things that may cause issues, that may cause errors if you don't identify it, if you don't see it, hidden cells that you don't see, and maybe if you knew about it, it would have changed your response to that working paper, or hidden sheets, or issues with copied and pasted calculations. And so that's what the reviewer options is for. So just to take you through that, there is an option to find all the yellow data. Naturally, what will a team member do if they can't find information? Let's just highlight it yellow, which is not a problem for a small working paper, but the larger your working papers, the more difficult it is for a reviewer to go and find that data. So there's an option to find yellow highlighted data. So a little box will pop up to show you exactly where we have those 2 yellow cells. And you can go up. Yes.
Some of these features might sound very extremely simple, especially on the reviewer tab, but these are specific things that I used to go through when reviewing working papers myself. And the first thing I used to do was trying to look for those highlights, especially in bigger working papers, like you said, because as a reviewer, I can almost immediately see the problem areas before I get into the meat of the working paper.
Yes. And I mean, you can use that to maybe have a policy in your firm that if you've identified non-compliance, highlight it red, because then if I'm a reviewer, I come in, I click on the red, I can immediately see, was there non-compliance identified or not? So that's also an option you can use to make your life a little bit easier.
It is. So far, the yellow and the red has proven helpful. I was a little bit nervous on sticking to those specific colors, but what we're thinking about doing is just doing like a color palette drop down instead of those 2. So Of course, if you have a go with it and you have any ideas, your feedback's more than welcome.
That's great, yes. So a few other options then, unhide sheets. So the trainee has gone and hidden sheets for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't want the reviewer to see. Maybe the sheets are not applicable, or maybe they are important. But now that takes time to right-click and unhide. And we all know, right, to my utter dismay, that in Excel, you can only unhide one sheet at a time if you use the normal unhide option. I've never been able to do more than one sheet. So you can click on the unhide sheets, right? And then there is no more hidden sheets. So it unhides everything at once, which I think is great, especially if you have a lot of hidden sheets, and you can quickly go and see what those sheets are and what the issues are.
That is something that I specifically went for after I found a situation where a file has been signed off and archived, and there was a hidden sheet in one of the working papers. So that could be extremely problematic because it is actually on your file, even though it's hidden.
But then there's also the option to unhide cells, because trainees may hide just a cell or a few cells or rows or columns. And then this one, break links. It may happen that a trainee uses another document on their desktop, so equals to a cell in another document, or refer to information from another document. And usually then what happens if they share this document with someone else, that link will still be there, right? And it can cause issues later on, can create errors in Excel. So this option will then just break those links to ensure that we don't have those errors. So it's going to paste values. So instead of equals to a cell in another Excel that was on the desktop of this person, it will just paste the value, the answer of that calculation. There's an option to look for hard-coded numbers, right? And this is nice. I apologize, that's because I clicked on it. Oh, cancel. What am I doing? This is nice in an instance where you have a calculation, right? Well, let's do it like this. Let's say I have a tax calculation. This one isn't a calculation at this stage, but let's say it was equals amount times 15%.
Just watch your second equals there. Okay, it's removed it for you. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, right. So I have a calculation, but now it may happen that the client or someone else, a team member, somewhere inside here went and added, right? Plus 10, or, you know, it's a calculation, but they added something extra. Or, yeah, there's differences. You may want to know where you have hard-coded amounts within a calculation, especially if the calculation should just be linked back to other amounts in the Excel itself. So that is the idea then with that button, is to go and show you which calculations have hard-coded amounts. Of course, mine, all the tax ones will, because I said 15 divided by 100. But if you have a situation where, as I said, they should all go back to other cells within Excel, but in one cell, someone went and added an extra amount. Maybe the client did this to manipulate and they're trying to hide it. You can quickly pick up that there is that 1 or 2 or 3 that has a formula, but with extra hard-coded amounts. And then a few other shortcuts from Excel that is useful. Show formulas, right? If you want to add in comments and then tracing your precedents or your dependents for calculation. And then there's a few more Excel shortcuts, text to columns, pivot table, things that they are available, of course, in the ribbon in Excel. But if you are in the audit toolbar, then you can quickly find it as well. Shortcuts that you may want to use as an accountant or an auditor.
Those shortcuts actually came out after the first round of testing on the toolbar. So the audit teams using it said, well, look, we use all of these features in Excel as well. If you throw it into the toolbar, we don't need to go anywhere else. So yeah, so that's the idea.
Makes your life a little bit easier. You don't have to jump around tabs in your ribbon, definitely. All right.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, that is the audit toolbar. Christian, I don't know if there's something that I haven't mentioned yet.
So there is, if you click on the help drop down.
Oh, naturally. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry, the help. That will give you some
you
resources.
Can go ahead.
Yes.
So currently those refer to the auditing standards, accounting standards, as well as SICA. We are looking at maybe having a more direct reference. So maybe you want to have a look at ISO 720 or something. You can actually browse to the actual standard, but that'll be further down the line. And then in addition to that, you also have some help features for the toolbar itself. So if you need support on that, if you need to read guidance or anything like that, that would be under help. And we are also working on a Excel library of like introductory Excel kind of training videos and things like that that we can make available to new clerks or something like that. So that's all. The Get Excel training thing is still in the it's still on the whiteboard, if I can put it that way.
Yes. I think these resources are quite nice. Just a quick link to where the ISAs and the IFRS is, if you don't know and you need to find them. So, I mean, if one could make that a bit more detailed, that would be awesome. Right. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, that is the toolbar. If you are interested, let me just show you where you can go. From Probita's websites. I'm sure everybody knows Probita's website, bookings.probitatraining.co.za. We have it's with our practice management hubs. So of course, resources for practice management. So you can just click on our practice management hubs. And then I think you scroll down to the bottom, close to the bottom. Let me just see. There we go, the audit toolbar. And that will then take you to the website. Right, so there, or you can just go to the website. The website is also, you can access it directly.
Audittoolbar.co.za, there we go.
.co.za, yes. So yeah, you're more than welcome to go there, look at some more information. You can also contact Christian directly. Christian, I don't know if you want to maybe share your email in the...
yeah.
Just check, you need to send to everyone. When you send the message, send it to everyone, not just to the hosts and panelists. There was a question on, can this be used with DraftWorks? And because it is an Excel add-in, it works in any Excel document. The thing, Christian, and you may need to help me out here, I'm not sure if you import the working paper into DraftWorks, naturally in DraftWorks, if you open it in DraftWorks, then it has the DraftWorks ribbon at the top. And I'm not sure if will the audit toolbar then still be available?
It will. Okay. The audit toolbar uses a similar installation mechanism as DraftWorks. So
inside DraftWorks, it still works.
It'll still work, yeah.
Okay, great. That's good to hear.
Yeah. I'm just putting my email account here in the chat. And I don't know if we should talk about pricing here, but I just wanted to comment to say that the pricing point on this toolbar is set to such a way that it is a no-brainer, if I can put it that way. So it is extremely, extremely affordable. We're not going to make you sell the office if you're interested in it. So
Christian, just on that note, with the pricing, is it per user in terms of
per user
who needs it installed on their computer?
So the pricing is per user. If you click on the plans and pricing link there, so there's a per user option. Sorry, what am I saying? Yeah, so we've got a monthly membership of 80 Rand a month per user, and then an annual membership, which is roughly a 20% discount. And then you can also take a lifetime use license. However, you won't get any access to updates in that option. And then there's also a multi-user sort of sliding scale. So as soon as you go past 10 users, there's a 10% discount. And then if you go past 50 users, there's another discount up until a 50% discount. So that sliding scale is on the checkout page. But yeah, it's there we go. That's the pricing.
Yeah, and maybe just to add in, and Christian, maybe you can give some more information about that. I know you do provide other Excel consulting programming work, whatever it is called.
Yeah. So there's I found there's a lot of demand for very specific customized work, and what often happens is that people run into a specific problem, and then the solution comes along in a bulky new application or software or something that needs to costs a lot of money and has to go through a process, whereas you can actually solve that problem just with your Microsoft that you have. So an example, just recently there was a client that had 350 different templates in Word and Excel, and the company's branding changed. So they had to go through all those documents to get it updated. And so we were able to get that done within 2 hours. It was 2 hours programming work and around 30 seconds to actually run everything and get all of that branding updated. So that's a small example. Some more examples would be oftentimes your accounting package gives you a printout of monthly management accounts, which is in their format, and then somebody goes away, spends hours getting it right, putting extra notes in, putting this thing in, tweaking that thing, and that's also been a very popular consultancy projects that came through, where we would actually write the code to extract the data from your accounting package, and then it'll kick out management accounts in the exact format that you need within a few seconds, as opposed to you sitting hours and hours getting that done. So any of those kind of projects, you can email me as well. And of course, if you subscribe to the Audit Toolbar, you get a 20% discount on your invoice.
Great. That's good to hear. Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Christian's email is in the chat box as well. Christian, I'm not sure if there's anything else from you before I move on to last administrative items.
Yeah, there is one thing. So Mark just mentioned something on the actual checkout page.
I see.
So the most difficult thing of building this Audit Toolbar was the checkout page. So it's just currently under construction. There is going to be we are going to be updating this hopefully within the week. There was a few hiccups with the checkout process. So currently, if you need to place an order, you just need to email me.
Great. And then I see someone is asking, what's the difference between annual and lifetime membership? Well, I'm assuming annual you will have to renew every single year.
Yeah. So the main point of difference, the main difference there is that if you buy the lifetime use, you will buy the product as it is on that day, and you will not get any updates to the software going forward. So such as the update coming next month that we mentioned a few times in this demo. If you buy a lifetime use package today, you won't get access to that update. And the vision for the product and the roadmap and everything looks amazing. So I'm very excited about all the updates coming down the line. So hopefully you go for the annual membership instead of the lifetime use, so you can get access to all of those amazing features coming down.
And I mean, naturally, with feedback from clients in terms of maybe new things they need, the product can keep on improving.
Yeah. So what I've done, because this is a very much an auditors driven, client driven product from the start, is that in scoping out this update coming next month, I went around consulting with all of the current clients and got feedback on their experience and their ideas, and that's how we got to the conclusion. So if you buy in, you're very much going to be part of the future of the product.
Yes. Then I see one last question. The lifetime use, well, I guess this would maybe be a question for any of those. Is it transferable? So I buy 10 licenses and now a trainee leaves in the middle of the year, and we wipe their computer. Can that be transferred to a new computer? I guess would be the question.
Yes, yes. So the licensing module works in such a way that if you buy 10 licenses for your firm, you will get one code that works across 10 machines. So if Excel, if that user gets revoked or uninstalled or something like that, then automatically a new license will be available. So it's all related to your firm as opposed to the trainee.
Okay, great. Great, thank you.